It's a back-to-back weekend as they get ready or try to get ready for some more wins, try to attempt for some more wins as the Arizona Coyotes set to face the Chicago Blackhawks and the Nashville Predators. Can they get back on the winning track after losing earlier this week? Carl and I will talk about that all on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robyn and Carl Pavlik, right beside me, getting ready again, once again, talk Arizona on back-to-back weekend. Coyotes against the Blackhawks and Predators. Blackhawks tonight on ESPN Plus and Hulu, and then back to the regional broadcast when they face Nashville tomorrow. Getting ready. Just like a back-to-back weekends of back-to-back, Carl.
Yeah, it is crazy to think that we're again in a situation. It's a Friday morning. We got a back-to-back coming up. I think it's another situation where the Coyotes are in a chance to win either one of or both of these games. So it's kind of interesting. After the rough start to the season, we're getting another back-to-back, another winnable back-to-back.
Another winnable back-to-back. We'll see what kind of team we see though. Will we see the team against that was similar to what we saw on Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild, or will we see the team that played like Carolina, or the team that played Seattle, or like?
Yeah. Although I will not say that the Seattle game plan is one that they should be working off of.
No. I'm just saying
But
based off
yeah.
the kind of play style,
No, I get you. It'll definitely be interesting to see. I think the Coyotes have been playing pretty well, but there's definitely these kind of issues that they run into. I don't know what it is, where they just can't seem to figure it out. And I'm kind of curious to see. I don't really expect the team to win both games, but I expect them to have a good showing for both because they are weaker competition in the grand scheme of things. I don't think anyone expected the Chicago Blackhawks or the Predators to do very well this season. Well, some people did for the Blackhawks, and the Predators are overperforming probably, but I think they can definitely walk out of this weekend with 2 extra points at least.
you would sure hope so, right? The Predators are doing better than expected, but the Blackhawks, they have 2-3 wins to their name.
Yeah, which I mean we're talking about the Coyotes who have 1 win. Blackhawks record 3-9-2 right now. I think, I mean, they did seem to make a couple of big moves this offseason, and it's all kind of falling apart for them. They kind of just stumbled right out the gate. Probably tried to jumpstart what should be a rebuild with acquisitions like Marc-Andre Fleury. They acquired Seth Jones. Moves that I didn't think really fit what the Blackhawks are going to be. And it's kind of funny to see them just kind of completely stumble.
Yeah, it makes me feel bad for Marc-Andre Fleury though, because out of goaltenders, with the exception of Carey Price, I really respect Marc-Andre Fleury, even though he was on Vegas for a while.
Yeah.
He is, without a doubt, probably one of the best goaltenders of the modern era. And again, you gotta really appreciate him. He's just overall good guy. To be honest, when he got traded, when he was thinking about retiring, I'm like, might as well, and instead of playing for Chicago.
Yeah. It's funny. Like if you're a good goaltender, you're either having to deal with like a bunch of stuff like being traded, or like you get nothing, and you're Henrik Lundqvist. You just get to play for the same team for your entire career, but you're never going to win a cup. Marc-Andre Fleury has won a couple cups with the Penguins, but he has also had to deal with being acquired in an expansion draft and then seeing his backup kind of take over and get traded to a bad team. So, I mean, at least he's got the cups. Maybe he should have retired in the offseason. It'll be kind of interesting to see if he has a change of heart after the season's over.
I mean, how many more years does he have left on that contract?
Uh,
And that's
but
a pretty hefty amount too. Maybe it's because the pay still, because
I don't necessarily think that he needs any of the money. I'm sure it's nice to get a couple of extra $1 million. Athletes, especially when they get up there, they seem to be playing more for pride, and kind of to show that they can still do it. Especially for someone like Fleury, who, like, his old teams have moved up past from him. Like, that's got a sting, and you're kind of like, I'm gonna show everyone, but are you really gonna show anyone in,
but
Chicago?
but at the same time, yeah, going that and right off of winning the Vesna,
Yeah.
like, I mean, he's in his final year, $7 million cap hit.
Do you think he resigns?
No, he's
Well,
done.
definitely not with Chicago. But like, do you think
Where else does he go? Vegas can't afford him.
Vegas
No
can't
one else.
afford him?
And of course they got rid of him for a reason because Robin Leonard's their new guy.
Yeah.
Like, where else does he go?
I mean, if you're Flurry, you could take a minimum contract for another shot at a cup. Um, like, go to freaking Colorado or somewhere. Um, it's kind of an interesting move because I think he's got a pedigree to him. He has, he's won it all, which teams always respect. He's coming into the locker room with rings, but he's just kind of old. But we're seeing Mike Smith like continue to play into what, his 40s now. So I don't know. Like, anything could happen. Fleury could retire this season, and it wouldn't surprise me. He could last another 3 years, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, the main thing is because Vegas is his home now, so like I
Yeah.
don't think he wants to go anywhere else. Kind of like I probably once the contract's done, he's just like, all right, I'm done. Move back with my family in Vegas and just live the retired life.
Yeah.
That's probably what he's gonna do.
I mean, if I had the chance to retire a multimillionaire in Vegas, I would do that in a heartbeat. So, sounds like a pretty good life for him.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely something else to think about that. Um, let's think more on the Arizona side though for this game because I think obviously we'll get more into it. This is Arizona's best chance to get back on the winning track. Again, they had that win against Seattle last week, but like if they can take some of the momentum that they had from like, I mean, because even though that loss in between, it's been almost a week. If they can take some of it, it can help them. It's against a lower ranked team.
Yeah. It's very similar to what we were saying last week. The Coyotes are playing back-to-back games against weaker competition, and we have seen the Coyotes fall against the better competition. I think the Minnesota Wild are one of the better teams in the Central Division right now, if not the league. And there's no real shame in losing like they did. Blackhawks are not going to have that excuse, but we've seen them stumble out the gate against lesser teams. The Anaheim game a week ago today kind of springs to mind. It's going to be like, if they can come out quick, if they can get like on the board first, I think they have a good chance. If they could stay out of the penalty box, I think they have a much better shot too.
That's the most important one. Staying out of the penalty box because this Coyotes team has a major problem on special teams, and yeah,
And I get why they're taking so many penalties because they are not good. And when your opponents are forcing you to play in your own end, you're constantly getting beaten. You take penalties. It's less
yeah.
out of sloppiness and more because there's nothing else that you could really do. And the Chicago Blackhawks, they're also not a good team, but they do have quite a few skilled players that can drive the Coyotes nuts. So, like, it unfortunately wouldn't surprise me if we saw them, take a lot of penalties this game. And hopefully it's not going to kill them like it did against the Minnesota Wild. I believe I mentioned in the episode yesterday, like 3 goals were either the Coyotes were either shorthanded or the Wild had just pulled their goaltender. That can't be allowed to happen tonight.
That reminded me. I think it was at the Minnesota during the Minnesota game when Craig Morgan tweeted that I think Michael Grabner was in attendance or something, and then he
Yeah,
tweeted and he's like, and it just brings back the days when the penalty kill was fun to watch.
it was fun. Like the Grabner Richardson like era of the Coyotes penalty kill was one of the more like fun aspects of the Coyotes,
They had the
which is
most shorthanded goals in the league, didn't they? Like,
uh, I think they were one behind Calgary. I would need to look it up, but they were one of the most shorthanded goals. Like it was it's crazy to see the Coyotes better as a penalty kill unit than as a power play unit because you'd think that those skills should be somewhat overlapped, but nope. They just loaded up with penalty kill specialists.
it was absolutely an amazing time. I mean, obviously, new era, new regime, but hey, it's only the beginning. So we'll see how things go from here to on to the future.
You
Anyways, we still got more to get to on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. In just a sec, we will talk about the Nashville Predators game. What to expect from that part of the back to back? All that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. But first, I want to tell you guys that with it being Thanksgiving season, it's always time for the delicious treats, all of it, because you know what? I love all those desserts, all the pies you can get, but they're also full of calories and sugar. Why not get a Built Bar instead? The new holiday desserts. Feast on something delicious and feel absolutely good about it. When you can go for a slice of pie that has upwards of 300 calories on the low end, or get a Built Bar that's only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. You can go ahead and again replace any delicious pie out there for a Built Bar that's low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. Built is a great option for when you're hungry. If Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough, go for a Built Bar or two. They have new surprises all month long, limited time flavor arriving at built.com regularly, so be sure to check the site often. There's absolutely nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday, so mark your calendar. Black Friday will be a huge event with all sorts of surprises. And if you guys go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15, you get 15% off your order. Once again, it's LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Okay, so that was talking about the Arizona Coyotes and the Chicago Blackhawks for tonight's game on ESPN Plus and Hulu. Now, let's get to tomorrow's game, Carl. As a little bit of a preview for tomorrow's game, Arizona Coyotes and Nashville Predators. A little bit
it,
tougher because they're somehow surprisingly doing well.
Yeah, the Predators. I think everyone expected them to be at the bottom of the standings with the Coyotes. They are. I'm not sure if they're just defying expectations or if they're temporarily overperforming. They have an 8-5-1 record, which is pretty good. What we were talking about before the start of the episode, like I was surprised to learn that they're ahead of the Colorado Avalanche in the standings
The
to start
Avalanche are
the
just
season.
doing something weird. I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, the Avalanche. I would need to like dig a lot deeper in there to figure out what exactly is going on, which I'm sure I will have to soon. But it's just it's interesting to
They've
watch.
also played the least amount of games in the Central Division, so
Yeah, but they've done pretty good recently. They beat the Stars and the Blues in a back to back. They've uh, they beat the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks earlier this month. Not really sure how tough that is. I am noticing quite a few extra periods. Like they had to go to overtime against the Flames. They had to go to overtime against the Blues. They lost in overtime against the Blackhawks. So, it's interesting to see. I'm wondering if maybe they're not necessarily as good as their record suggests. If they're just getting like lucky bounces. I think that they don't necessarily have the roster to sustain like a lengthy period of winning. I would not be surprised if they're out of the playoffs by the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this last year when the Dallas Stars had the COVID problem, so they pretty much missed the first few games, first week, and then they come out and they have a really good start. And I got asked on Locked On NHL, is this sustainable? I kind of thought it's like, oh yeah, they got some pretty good players. I think it's sustainable. I was wrong. They fell off the face of the earth in this, like a snap of a finger, almost as immediately after I started saying that, and um we could very well see the same thing with Nashville.
Yeah. It happens every year. There's a team that starts hot and people are like, "Oh, are they gonna be the ones to like prove all the analysts wrong?" Because there's always a little bit of joy in seeing someone be professionally wrong. Uh, I know I appreciate it. I hate it when it's pointed out when I'm wrong, but it's fun to watch. And it's kind of interesting to see like if maybe the Predators are just finding a way to win. If it's something that the numbers aren't accounting for yet, or if everyone was kind of right and they just fall apart in the next coming weeks.
I'm just going to go ahead and point out the last time that these two teams played against each other. Bubble.
Oh yeah, the playing round at the bubble. That was fun. I like the playing round aspect of it. I was trying to think. I'm like, when would it have been? But nope, they weren't in the weird division last year, so playoff bubble.
The
Which
playoff bubble.
the Coyotes won that series,
They
so
did, yeah, and then they ended up getting clobbered by the Avalanche. But
yeah, they were beaten so badly by the Avalanche. There was an existential crisis amongst Coyotes fans and management. Just brutal to watch. But it's been a long time. The Coyotes are a very different team. Um, the Predators are also a different team. It's been a full season, so it'll be kind of curious to see if they can bring that same kind of pace and momentum to Sunday's or Saturday's game.
it'll be really interesting. I get, can't wait to see these two teams match up against. I just like seeing, for the fact that these two teams are teams again we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah,
Today and
it, it's
tomorrow.
it's cool, especially after that weird shortened season where they only played in division. We're seeing all of these teams again, and it's curious to see like how everyone's changed. It's like coming back to school almost over a long summer break. You're just like, oh,
It's like, oh, you
yeah,
grew.
yeah,
Oh,
you grew. You're suddenly atop of the Avalanche when we're playing. I don't like that at all. But but yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting matchup. Like I said, I do think that these two are winnable games, and the Coyotes can find like if they dig deep, if they stay disciplined, they can walk out with at least 2 points. Um, and hopefully maybe like be the team that kind of turns things around for the Predators. Maybe at the end of the year, we're talking about it and we're just like, oh yeah, once the Preds lost to the Coyotes, they really started to tumble.
yeah. For the Coyotes fans out there, yeah, you'll all be happy with at least 2 points coming out of this. For the players, you're gonna win at least 3 points.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, you gotta pick up points where you can. If you're the Coyotes, you're not going to be winning many games against the best competition in the league. We know that. The players on the ice know that. Coaches know that. Management knows that. So you gotta pick up winnable games when you can. You have to play with the same kind of pace and drive against the worst teams in the league that you would against the best teams. And hopefully you can walk away with some victories. It's kind of interesting to see because I don't think that the Predators are one of the best teams. So they have one of the best records, but if they can play like they are the best teams, I think that they could maybe walk away with a win.
I think so too. I think it's definitely possible that they're able to come with the win. It will be a fun weekend to watch just in general overall both these games today and tomorrow. I think what we're gonna do though, Carl, is we're gonna get into preview mode. We're gonna get into the bets for tonight's game. There are no bets for tomorrow's game, so we'll talk more just preview in general. We'll get some predictions, what we think is going to happen over this weekend. All of that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. But I think you have something you want to share with us.
I do, yes. I just want to get a couple messages here. Well, one big one, and that's we're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for basketball and football and hockey action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
It's time now to go prediction time, Carl. Let's start off with the betting lines, courtesy of our friends at betonline.ag.
Let's do it.
So we only have the one for tonight's game. They do not have the lines for tomorrow's game yet, mainly because this game today isn't even completed.
Yeah, if you're betting on tomorrow's game when the game hasn't even happened for today, that's like putting cart before the horse.
Yeah. But anyways, here are the lines. Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs at minus 150. Money line, if you bet on Arizona, it is plus 150, minus 180 for the Chicago Blackhawks. Total points, or sorry, I'm even looking at the wrong one. I was looking at a first period. 1.5 underdogs, minus 134, plus 188 for Arizona, minus 210 for Chicago. Total points, 5.5 points at plus 100 for the over.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see the Coyotes are still the underdogs. Well, not too surprised, considering they are at the bottom of the division. But the Blackhawks are right up there, so who knows? Would you say the goals were
5.5.
5.5? That's tough. I'm looking, and I'm actually kind of surprised to see that the Chicago offense isn't necessarily what I thought it would be. But Alex DeBrincat has 7 goals already to start the season, which is pretty ridiculous. They do also appear to be giving up a lot of goals, so I would say we're probably going to see more than 5.5 goals scored.
You think it's going to be over?
I think it's going to be over. What about you?
I think it's going to be under.
Here's what we're looking at, though. We have Marc-Andre Fleury. We have Kevin Lankinen. 3.81 goals against for Fleury, 3.11 for Lankinen. So, like, Chicago's giving up quite a bit. The Coyotes' offense, is very inconsistent, but I think they can put together 3 goals against them, and I imagine they're going to give up quite a few too. We don't even know who's going to be starting. It may have been released already, but either way, I think both goaltenders that the Coyotes have shown that they can let in quite a few, so I think it's going to be over.
You think it's going to be over? Okay. I'll still stick with my under prediction on that one. Unless I can see any difference on the goalies, if I can get the daily face-off. Because, like I said, I mean, it shouldn't be the go-to, but it will definitely tell me at least something. Marc-Andre Fleury likely, and unconfirmed whether or not if it's Kurabe Melka tonight.
Yeah. I mean, he did get, pulled after another quick 2 goals. So it's really tough to say like who is the Coyote starter at this point. I do see that Hutton has accompanied the team on the road trip. No word yet that I'm seeing on who is going to be starting in net for the Coyotes.
Right. I'm still picking the under.
Okay,
But that's one of my picks. You know what my other pick's gonna be?
sure.
Money line, Arizona, plus
Ooh,
188.
you're betting on Arizona, or yeah. I think this one's going to be a fairly high scoring game. I think Arizona is going to win 4-2,
4-2. I got 3-2.
3-2. So a bit
Just
closer.
on just under the 5.5.
Yeah, you're like right there. You're not even an empty netter. I do you, and hmm. It's definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. I will say that. I'm hoping the Coyotes can pull one out. I think after a loss like against the Wild, they're going to be looking to rebound. They're going to be looking to simplify things on the road. I think that's creating like just a good recipe for a good Coyotes effort.
Absolutely. But so we have our predictions for that game. I say take the money line for Arizona and bet the under. Um, you just say bet the under or
Or
bet the
bet the
over.
over.
You
Yeah.
said bet the over. Arizona wins. Are you going? Would you take the money line too?
Yeah, I'd probably take the money line too.
The money line, especially at plus 188. That's a nice.
Yeah. I
That's a nice
mean,
line right there.
like there are few games I've gone into the season where I really thought the Coyotes had a good shot of winning. And this is one of the few where I'm like, oh yeah, this seems very possible.
Want to try to make a an extra bet just to be a little fun?
Sure.
Total points for the first period, 1.5.
1.5. I would go over. I think it's going to be like we've seen the Coyotes give up a lot of goals in the first period. Uh,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily see that trend changing. Do they have anything for the second period?
No, it just has first period.
Because the second period is when the Yotes really start to fall apart. That's your easy money right there.
Yeah, it has total points per team. Total points for the Coyotes, 2.5, 3.5 for Chicago. Obviously, I'm betting the over for Arizona and the under for Chicago.
Yeah. Any fun like fastest shot? Any kind of prop bets like that you're seeing? Because
Um, prop markets for this game are currently not available.
because I have noticed that we see a lot more of those with the national broadcast. I saw like I think it was the TNT where you had like every time Chikrin shot it in the net, there'd be like a pop up where it's like 95 miles per hour. Um,
I don't know if the house is like that. They mainly have, how many shots on net is Clayton Keller gonna register. Like,
yeah, that's why I'm like really looking forward to like a lot of the micro data that we're supposed to be getting in the next coming years because I think it will make for some interesting prop bets on like fastest slap shot and that sort of thing in games and just kind of interesting ways to look at hockey.
it will be very interesting. But those are our picks for tonight's game. Let's now go to tomorrow's game. As I said, there are no betting lines available on BetOnline yet for this game. However, that is not going to stop us from making a prediction on how this game is going to go.
Yeah. I think tomorrow's game is going to be much harder for the Coyotes. I think they're going to fall 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I probably let's see. Like we've had 5.5 is pretty consistent. I think we would do the under for that one.
You do the under for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see for me. What do I think? I think the Coyotes will carry a little bit of momentum into this game. They'll make it interesting. 4-3, the final score. Nashville wins in overtime.
Ooh, overtime. Nice. Like I mentioned in the last segment, we've seen the Predators have to go to overtime for a lot, so that's a smart pick.
I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of overtime too. So
Who doesn't like 3-on-3 overtime?
yeah, I was gonna. I was thinking to. I had to think to myself again. Is it still a 3-on-3? I'm like, yeah, it was.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, 3-on-3. That sounds way too fun for the NHL to be doing. Did I say that
uh,
wrong?
because we haven't had 4-on-4 overtime in like 10 years.
Yeah. Well, let's be fair to ourselves. We haven't gotten to watch a lot of overtime Coyotes hockey this season. The games are very rarely close.
The only time we did was the second game of the season against Buffalo.
Is that really the only one? Dang, like that just feels wrong. But yeah, you're right. They only have the one loser point and they only have the one game. Wow. There are so many like times this season where I think that it's like I am fully appreciating how bad the Coyotes are, and it's like, nope. I think that happened like the second time they were shut out. I was like, oh, hey, this is the first shutout of the season. They're like, nope, it's the second. I'm like, really, really, but yeah, more overtime hockey would be fun.
Absolutely. But again, those are our picks for this weekend's game. Once again, feel free to make the bets. Also, feel free not to. Feel free to just gamble responsibly. If you're gambling this weekend on the Arizona Coyotes, I usually recommend just don't bet on Arizona in general. But it's just a disaster waiting to happen. It's a personal thing for me, but if you are going to do it, those are the picks that I recommend.
Yep.
Um, Anyways, though, that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you guys like what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you've yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes. Also on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. That's ROBYN_LEANO. Carl Pavlik is at Carl Pavlik FFH. Once again, interact with us, ask us any questions you might have. We might talk right back or answer questions on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Once again, that is it for today. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.